Jimmy Page wasn't supposed to talk. For decades, he stayed quiet. Whenever someone brought up Ozzy Osbourne, Jimmy would just smile politely, give a short answer, and move on. But now, everything has changed. Out of nowhere, Page has finally decided to tell the world what really happened between him and Ozzy, and it's not what fans expected. It started during a quiet interview in London. Jimmy was asked a harmless question. Do you think Ozzy Osbourne influenced heavy metal as much as Led Zeppelin? Jimmy leaned back, paused, then looked straight at the camera. I'll be honest, he said, his voice calm but cold. Ozzy, he wasn't what people thought he was. Not back then, not when it really mattered. That one sentence sent shockwaves across the rock world, because behind the scenes, Jimmy and Ozzy had history, not just musical history, personal history, deep scars, words that were never meant to be repeated. And now, Jimmy Page was ready to share it all. But why now? Why after all this time? Jimmy said it himself. I'm tired of carrying it alone. What came next would flip the rock world upside down. He took a deep breath and said, there was a night, one night, everything changed. The night everything went wrong, it was 1974. Led Zeppelin had just wrapped a show in New York. Across town, Black Sabbath had finished their own set. Jimmy Page was in a mood. The crowd had been wild. The energy was electric. He felt unstoppable. A mutual friend suggested they all meet up, Zeppelin and Sabbath, in a private lounge uptown. Rock royalty in one room. It sounded legendary. But the moment Jimmy walked in, something felt off. Ozzy was already there, slouched in a corner with a drink in hand, sunglasses on even though it was night. Tony Iommi nodded at Jimmy. Geezer Butler gave him a fist bump. But Ozzy, he didn't even stand up. Jimmy tried to brush it off, but then Ozzy mumbled, low, but enough for everyone to hear. Well, look who it is, the king of stealing riffs. Everyone froze. Jimmy smiled awkwardly. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe Ozzy was drunk. But Ozzy didn't stop. How's it feel, Page? Making a fortune off old bluesmen who never saw a dime? That hit hard, because Jimmy had heard those rumors before, accusations of borrowing from blues legends. But to hear it from Ozzy in public, with all eyes watching, Jimmy clenched his jaw but said nothing. Instead, he walked up to Ozzy, looked him in the eyes and said, when you've written something that changes the world, Ozzy, come talk to me. Ozzy smirked. I already did. It's called Paranoid. Look it up. The room went silent. It wasn't just two rock legends trading jabs. It was personal, raw, and it would leave a scar that never healed. The studio session that never happened. Fast forward to 1985. The world had changed. Rock was evolving. MTV was in full swing. Rumors began swirling that Jimmy Page and Ozzy Osbourne were planning to record a song together. Something heavy, something dark. Fans were thrilled. Two gods of rock finally joining forces? It would be historic. But it never happened. Jimmy now reveals why. I was ready, he said. I had riffs. I had ideas. But then Ozzy showed up and brought chaos with him. According to Jimmy, Ozzy arrived late to the studio, hours late, stumbling in with two assistants, a bag of strange pills, and sunglasses that never came off. He didn't say hello. He didn't ask about the music. He just flopped onto a couch and said, play something good, Page. Blow me away. Jimmy played a riff he'd written just for Ozzy. It was slow, heavy, hypnotic, perfect for Ozzy's dark voice. Ozzy just laughed. This sounds like Sabbath leftovers, he said. Jimmy's face went pale. I wrote that this week. Ozzy shrugged. Sounds recycled. That was it. Jimmy stood up, unplugged his guitar, and left. No shouting, no anger, just silence. He never spoke to Ozzy again after that. Not in person, not in email, not even through mutual friends. Until now. The final message. Years passed. Ozzy went solo. Jimmy did projects on his own. Their paths never crossed again. Until 2022. Jimmy received a message. It came through Sharon Osbourne, Ozzy's wife. It was short. Ozzy wants to speak with you. Jimmy hesitated. I didn't know what he wanted, he said. Apology, collaboration, or something else? They agreed to meet at a private hospital in Los Angeles. Ozzy was struggling with his health. The man who once stomped across stadiums now sat in a wheelchair, fragile, distant. Jimmy entered the room. Ozzy looked up slowly. His voice was weak. I was wrong, mate. Jimmy stood still. I should have respected what you did. You weren't like the others. You had something real. I was just jealous. Jimmy didn't speak for a long time. Finally, he sat beside Ozzy, held his hand and whispered, You still are the Prince of Darkness, you know. Ozzy laughed softly. Yeah, but you were the wizard behind the curtain. It was the first time in decades they shared peace. Why Jimmy decided to tell the world. After Ozzy's health took a serious turn, Jimmy Page knew he had to talk. It's not about revenge, it's about truth, Jimmy said. He wanted people to understand that legends are human. They fight, they hurt, they carry regrets. Jimmy looked straight into the camera once more. There was always respect, even when we couldn't show it. Ozzy pushed me. He made me sharper, angrier, more focused. That's the real story. And then Jimmy said something no one expected. If Ozzy doesn't make it through this year, he said, I want the world to know he was more than the wild man on TV. He was the fire under all of us. He made me want to be better. The camera cut. The room fell quiet. And with that, the truth was finally out. But there's still one final twist.